Hello, I'm Alicia Millay, and today I'll be talking with you about the Heimlich maneuver. Several people die each year from choking, but thanks to Dr. Henry Heimlich, there is a way to help save a life. I would like to inform you about Dr. Heimlich, why he thought up the idea of the Heimlich maneuver, and how to perform the procedure properly. I believe I'm a credible source for this subject because I have been a CNA for the past 5 years, and in order to obtain your certification, you do have to be trained and tested on the Heimlich maneuver. I've worked at a nursing facility for 4 years, and during that 4 years, I have had to give the procedure twice. Something you really don't ever expect, but it's very helpful to know whenever the circumstances do occur. Since the Heimlich maneuver was created, Dr. Heimlich has stated that himself that it has saved over 100,000 potential victims of choking deaths. So it's really useful to know, but at the same time, it's very useful to know the proper procedures because if you don't do it the right way, there is a good chance of injury, and there's a good chance that it might not work at all. The Heimlich was developed in 1974. Dr. Heimlich was actually reading a magazine article stating that there were over 3,000 deaths in the United States alone in that year. He decided to do further research, and since he was a thoracic surgeon, that was kind of an area of expertise for him. He decided to do the research on the pat on the back that was recommended by by the Red Cross, and decided that the pat on the back would actually do more harm than help as far as expelling the object from the airway. He determined that the pat on the back would actually lodge the foreign object into the airway further, so less likely for the victim to survive. He thought that the idea of air being compressed out of the lungs to make the object come out, but what he didn't know was how to go about this. What he did was prepared an experiment using a dog. He put the dog under an anesthetic and he blocked the airway with a balloon. He first tried putting pressure on the rib cage, and that wasn't expelling the air out of the lungs enough to get the balloon to come out of the dog's throat. So he then thought of taking an inward and upward thrusting to collapse the lungs from the underside of the ribs, and it worked. He tried the process over and over and over again with the balloon, and then he decided to actually use a piece of meat to see if it actually would work on food. He tried it, and it worked too. After several more repeated procedures, he had confirmed that the process was legit and that it would actually help save people. He decided to publish an article in a magazine, and within a week of the publishing date of his article, there was another article on the front page of the Seattle Times saying that his article had actually saved a woman from choking already within 1 week. Now that we've talked about who came up with the Heimlich maneuver and why and everything like that, let's talk more about the process and how you really know if it's needed. Now, determining if the victim's airway is completely obstructed is very important because the Heimlich maneuver, it's not an easy process and it can cause further damage as far as accidental injury, cracked rib. If it's not necessary, you really don't need to do it. Some of the signs that you need to know as far as determining whether the airway is obstructed completely is the victim cannot speak at all, cannot talk, cannot cry, cannot say help, can't say I'm choking. No coughing, basically no sound at all. And the universal sign for choking is this. So make sure you know that it's needed, but at the same time, try and be as quickly as possible because lack of oxygen to the brain can cause permanent damage. Now let's talk about how to do the actual Heimlich maneuver. It's critical to do this correctly again to avoid injury. Now, squeezing too far up on the rib cage, that can cause damage. And I'm just going to give a little bit of an example on where you want to kind of put your thumbs and your arms at. Right here, it would be a little above the navel and right below the sternum. It's going to get up in that diaphragm and it's going to collapse the lungs to compress the air out. And that's how you're going to get rid of your object. Now, first thing you need to do is position yourself behind the choking victim like you're going to give them a hug from behind. A lot of people like to call it a bear hug. Call it what you want. Second thing you need to do is wrap your arms around the victim underneath their arms, right where we said underneath the sternum and right above the navel. Now you'll make a fist with your thumb facing toward the victim. Now with your other hand, you'll grab that fist and you'll thrust inward and upward. You need to do it pretty hard because you want to get a good amount of pressure to expel the object. You repeat this process until the object is expelled, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps someone, and hopefully y'all got a lot out of it. It can really be important. You never really know what you're going to face on a day-to-day occurrence. Thank you all for listening.